I need you to pick it up. Pick it up.
A lot of people talk about homesteading, this idea of this revival of homesteading, but I think there's a lot of confusion about what homesteading is, and if you ask 20 different people, you probably get 20 different answers. I think we've got this notion of going back to the land living and going back to the old ways, and you think of Little House on the Prairie and Laura Ingalls Wilder. But I don't think it's so much about going back to how they were living, rather than taking some of the things that they were able to do that have maybe been lost in translation and being able to relearn them so that we can embrace them today inside of our modern technology.
Okay, so we've already finished our cuts. We got a nice big heavy beam, about 16 inches square. So we got our log here, and probably weighs about 1,000 pounds, and we're going to use it as a retaining wall.
I think there's maybe this idea that back then they didn't use modern conveniences, but I mean, you were actually reading from The Little House on the Prairie the other night, and in the chapter you were talking about
Such a page turner.
Papa, who was
Charles Ingalls.
The new technology that he was making use of was the wheat thresher. Mm-hmm. Is that right?
Well, they called it a separator back then. So here's our post that we just cut, right?
Yep. Scary.
Come on, come on.
Is it blue?
Every homestead is going to look different, and I think every homestead did look different back in the 1800s. Not everyone had a family milk cow, right? They might share milk between a community of people, and I think today what is undergirding the community is this common mindset of wanting to grow my own food, wanting to be more self-reliant, wanting to use renewable energy sources and things like that, rather than a definition by what I'm physically doing on my homestead.
Yesterday, I drove in the stakes there to keep it from sliding back down. I think I broke my thumb. Anyway, so I put clean rock there, and I got pipe here, and that pipe, it'll help with drainage so water won't sit behind there. Hopefully it'll have a way to get out. And then Dad's gonna smooth out the rock and build it up some more. So going back to the 1860s model and this homesteading idea back then, 1850s, 1840s, whatever, 1820s, and surviving. I think there's a thought of like, hey, this is one family. They just go out in the water, in the wilds, and some did that, but a lot of them couldn't make it. And the way in which, say, the Pilgrims had to survive was a together, a one another, and it had to be a multiple family thing, and that's where you have a higher success rate. I think with the modern day idea with tech and social media is obviously the catalyst of it that really has made it grow. And so it's the same idea, that the working together to be able to really share ideas and to survive, in a sense of survival.
In this sense of homesteaders coming together as a community to learn from each other and share ideas, just a few weeks prior, Caleb and I took a road trip to Virginia to attend the annual Homesteaders of America conference, where I had been invited to share my knowledge of horses and the work they can do on a homestead. In a forestry application, you'll find that horses are easier to maneuver and get into smaller spaces. Not only were we able to learn from so many others who were there to share what they were doing and how they were doing it, but being able to meet and connect with other families gave us a real sense of togetherness that spurred us on in our own journey. Who are we going to see today, guys?
White House on the Hill.
One family that we connected with as a result of the conference were White House on the Hill, who some of you may already know from YouTube. We became fast friends when we discovered we were practically neighbors, and so just before Thanksgiving, we took a little family road trip to learn about what they do on their homestead.
So what do you feel right now, Carrie? How do you feel?
I'm so out of my comfort zone. It's not funny. I'm terrified. This is so.
I feel like we should get one or get a male and a female. So, all right, go up to one of them and pet them.
What? No,
Pet her.
I can't do that.
Here, just come on in.
Oh.
They do get a little excited, but that's just them getting like.
I need to go.
Go,
Oh, come
go.
on! No. Right?
That's right. Exactly.
Oh,
well
now I
well
can
put.
relax, I know. But I'm impressed by your birdmanship.
Look at her neck. Look at her neck. Look how it's kind of like she's like bone swaying this way. Look at that.
She's like strutting for.
Oh, is that what she's doing?
For her man here, I think. Which he's not breeding with her, so she's like, whatever I can get. I think the male often will be the one that will walk around with the young.
Yeah.
The female will breed with him, lay some eggs, and then if they're in the wild, they would go and breed with other males, come back and lay more eggs.
Okay, it's not like a lifelong, like a
No.
Canada goose there.
No. But if you have multiple females in, which we used to have the two females in, then they would fight
Yeah.
for dominance.
Yeah.
Where if you had multiple males, they'd be fine, and she'd breed with one.
Oh, he's
and
after your
breed with
pencil.
another.
Don't let him eat it.
So
That was funny.
The big thing used to be socks or gloves. Go ahead. Big thing they'd do it, and he picks it up and then he throws it on his back. He goes like this, and he does this big thing, and he like tries to drop it onto his back. They do a really good job in the mornings, but we'll try to get them to run a little bit. Because our necks are hilarious.
That's hilarious.
As we hit the road home, we reflected on the fun and fellowship we shared. Caleb was pretty sure that we needed emus in our life. Me, let's say I'm on the fence about it. But this is where I think we see the evolution of what homesteading is into a mindset rather than the specifics of what you do in your day-to-day. Because every homestead is going to look different. We run a sawmill and we have horses, and not everybody else's homestead is going to look like that.
Yeah, and obviously it's dependent on where you are, like how you're gonna use the land to your advantage. I think, you know, if we had 100 acres of pasture, like we wouldn't be doing milling with tree. You know, for trees we'd have a lot more animals that would do well on pasture land. So, yeah.
He knows.
What are you doing? Huh?
He's like, stop talking, I finished my breakfast.
I'm ready to get out, he says.
I think also one of the differences that you see today, and you talk about homesteading being what farming used to be, is that farming has this idea of being maybe sort of like bigger and more commercial today.
Well, now, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still farming, and obviously they're still producing.
Well, let's talk about agriculture then.
Well,
Whereas-
it's obviously majority of the time the products don't stay. All of it goes and gets sold. Most, as far as row crops are concerned,
Yeah.
we have 5,000 acres of corn and beans to harvest.
Right. Or cattle are going off to market.
Yeah.
So I think when you use farming in today's language, people might jump to the idea that you are raising animals to go to market or raising crops for sale at the market. Whereas the homesteading is more maybe what the farming used to be. It's the small holding.
Small scale, yeah.
And providing for oneself and one's community and one's family with more of the self-provision idea.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
So for us, homesteading involves training our horses to help us with our small logging business and other jobs around our woodland. It involves renovating our farmhouse using the resources from our wood mill where we can, and it involves building on and developing our land into a place of profit and provision for our family. We grow a garden, we raise chickens, and we are teaching our children skills we hope they will hold on to for the future. We appreciate the support, help, and encouragement we receive from friends, family, and fellow homesteaders who champion us on our journey. And whether our next move is to become emu owners or not, well, you're just going to have to keep watching.
Has he hurt himself?
Caught it, I think, on something.
Yeah, we need to clip that off. I'll get the clippers.